You are listening to the 312 Squadron podcast. My name is Nick Sperry.
I'm Andrew Kouba.
And I'm Matt Cary.
And we are back with lots of news, new developments, new points. Things are happening in the X-Wing world, and we haven't really been podcasting as much, especially Andrew, you and I haven't teamed up in a bit, but it's nice to have you back, and a lot of exciting things to talk about. And Matt, welcome back. It's been a long time since you joined us, but
Nice to be here.
I mean, I was going to say, I know you were working a lot with the XWA stuff, and there was a lot of things that we couldn't talk about, and it's great now that we have something big to talk about, and I think we'll have a lot more to talk about going forward.
Yeah. And for those of you that have listened to the podcast up to this point, the last two episodes, Andrew behind the scenes has done a lot of hard work in helping edit and produce. But we did some interviews with Brian Gambrell from Roll Better, who created Roll Better. And then, of course, Harry Nick from the YouTube channel X-Wing content creator, Harry Nick. So those episodes were awesome, but we haven't done like a traditional podcast episode like this in a while. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah. Thanks for our friend Matt jumping on, and it's going to be great. I couldn't think of anyone better to have this discussion with us.
Oh, how flattering. It's nice to be here.
Welcome to the show, Matt. Welcome back. Matt, you are also a new addition to the X-Wing Alliance in a playtesting kind of capacity. What has that been like first few days?
So it's been less than a week, I think. I think I joined like 2 days before the points dropped, so that was kind of exciting in its own. I got to see a little bit of the behind the scenes as everybody's I don't want to say panicking, but everybody's in gear. Yeah.
I was going
They're
to say, this happens every time there's new points.
Yeah. So but watching it, seeing it from internal, like where everybody's like, all right, we need to get this in order. We got to have this in order. We have to, and is launch bay, that should be popping up the same time, and then them saying, getting to see the internals behind it. It was interesting.
Yeah.
I have largely been brought on to help collate the playtest data when it comes in. I'm very much a spreadsheets guy. But I make them for fun, as weird to say, but like I love playing with data. I do it a lot with X-Wing and other things, but mainly X-Wing.
Yeah, Excel is the coolest computer program in the world, and I will die on that hill.
Uh, Aside from when it wants to make everything a date, I
Well,
really
yeah.
I wish you could just set it to a default to not do it, but they're just like, no, you have to, you have to. I'm like, I just want to make the whole spreadsheet, not dates.
Yes.
Insert joke about single life here.
Yeah.
I don't have the brain capacity to make one, but yeah, me too. I just I really struggle with making everything's a date, man.
Yeah.
It's getting so many of those. Matt, I wanted to talk to you about kind of your like journey the last couple of years and as it relates to X-Wing, because you have been an avid part of the X-Wing community for quite a long time, playing in the Midwest and going to a lot of tournaments and having a lot of success. And then you kind of just, you got as close to quitting X-Wing as you could get without full stop quitting X-Wing. But you basically took a pretty long break. You just stopped playing. A lot of your locals stopped playing. Can you kind of walk me through like what made you do that? Like walk me through everything up to this point, honestly, without taking 10 years.
So started playing X-Wing in about 2017, invited by Dan, the Midwest Scrub himself. It was a high school friend, and he was like, hey, play this game with Star Wars and miniatures and board games. And I liked all three of those things. So I did. Then I started getting really good pretty quick and started doing really well, winning some local tournaments in first edition. Then second edition happened, and I won the first big tournament of second edition, which was the Gold Squadron Classic. And then kept winning stuff and nearly winning stuff for a couple of years. And then, like you said, I started tuning out, and that was largely because 2.5 dropped. Not a fan of the list building as much. I think we'll get to current points, but list building, but largely the objectives doesn't jive with me, and So when I would do list building, I'd be like, okay, I think this is the best list. And then everybody else would build that exact same list. So I didn't feel like the beautiful, unique snowflake. Um, so I kind of tuned out. And then specifically after Worlds 2023, the meta had been stale for a little while already. And then it just continued for another year and like 4 months. I was very much tuned out for that. I still played in some online tournaments. I played in the last Kyber League and I played in the Nickel City League, and then I hopped in on the I
Team
think it was
League.
Nickel City. I was still playing Tinder Gods. Yeah, so that was Nickel City. So
Tinder Gods.
yeah. So yeah, I got really disillusioned. Some of it was AMG's how they responded to the community, how they were bad at communication, but not a whole lot. It's not the same game to me. Like a lot of the fundamentals are the same. It's like comparing American football to the rest of the world football. Yeah, you're playing on a rectangle. You got to get the ball to the other end and score. You need extreme athleticism, and you need to have teamwork, but a lot of the rules are different. It's similar but not the same.
Hmm.
So and I don't begrudge anybody disliking it or liking it. It's like, if it's not a game that you like, then be like me. And a lot so another thing is a lot of the locals, when 2.5 came around, I think the last tournament of 2.5 recently was only 4 people. So it like we went from like somewhere around like 20 some odd people that would show up. Typically, like we'd get like 13 people for a tournament, for a local tournament, and it's down to 4. A lot of my podcast mates, like Dan was immediately out, Clint slowly got out, and then Emily is kind of there as well. So it just, that also, when you lose the community, you also kind of, you dip out. So that's kind of where I was at.
Yeah. For sure.
However, recently with specifically 312 points that Nick did, I was playing a lot of games. It was fun, it was fresh, it was new. I liked a lot of the ideas that were explored. Like Nick, you had pipped some upgrades and some pilots, and that allowed you to do different things with the points. And it was just nice to have fun list building again, because that's like half the game for me, is list building.
Yeah.
I know some people don't enjoy it, some people do.
How did this, you and your community kind of having a bit of a tapering off, affect the podcast? I know you guys still record, right? But obviously you don't really talk much about X-Wing.
Yeah.
If, maybe a little bit, like how did that affect the podcast?
We used to release bi-weekly, and now we record maybe once a month. We still record, but not a whole lot. I think currently the goal is to get to episode 100 and then just call it quits. And we're in the 90s right now.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Whenever we would try to stay on subject with X-Wing, Dan would just tune out because he was so hard turned off by 2.5. He just didn't enjoy it at all. So he would just tune out, and you could just see his eyes glaze over once we started talking about it. And then we just kind of decided, as each one of us lost a little interest, we just started talking about whatever the heck we wanted to, which has been fun, but it's a lot less directed. And I could talk for the entire hour that our podcast is. The rest of them don't have as much of the gift of gab that I do. So it just becomes me talking to my friends.
Yeah. Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's cool that you guys are
Yeah.
still going for it. That milestone that's big, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. Seeing you take a break, I feel like I feel like maybe a symbol of just kind of how divided the X-Wing community had gotten over time, since the end of 2.0 to the AMG era of 2.0 that lasted just a brief amount of time, to their era of 2.5 and the iterations, the couple that they've made to the rules and the points. And obviously seeing people who have been dedicated players of X-Wing kind of just not want to play anymore, it has a little bit of a ripple effect. Like seeing that is just like, oh man, that sucks. But then seeing
Yeah.
you come back with, you kind of almost being inspired by the community points. I know Maui, with the XWA he had before XWA started, made his own points. I did ours for a bit. and seeing you be inspired and to build and play again, I thought like it really excited me. And then to see you join the XWA's efforts to further sustain the game, I think is a really cool maybe
Yeah.
third act
Yeah.
for this story for you.
Well,
Yeah.
So
yeah,
Well,
the game is still fun.
yeah. The way that I've like approached 2.5 throughout this entire time, because there was a lot of, we'll say, kickback to any criticism, towards the start of 2.5, and it's like, no, this could be better. It's like, okay, I'm not a objectives and loadouts guy, but maybe the game, even with objectives and loadouts, could be refined. First 6 months in, AMG did change some of the rules, whereas no
Yeah.
scoring round one, and got rid of some oppressive stuff. And
Yeah.
there was a lot of just negative, volatile criticism that I'm not. I don't support anybody that were making personal attacks to AMG and all that kind of jive, but I feel like some of the genuine criticisms about the game, where it's like, hey, we could make this game better, were also brushed aside with that, and just like saying, hey, you just hate AMG. And it's like, no, that's not it. I want the
yeah,
best. I want the current version of X-Wing to be the best version of X-Wing, and that's kind of where I'm at with XWA. I mean, that's kind of where I've been
yeah,
at whenever, just talking on Reddit or talking on any Discord, is I'm trying to create the best X-Wing community, but also encourage the best version of X-Wing. And being part of XWA, for the short amount of time that I feel like I can contribute to that, and help shape the future to where it is the most enjoyable version of 2.5 that can be out there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think
yeah,
this is what the beauty of taking it into the hands of the community has always been. This is one thing that I've championed for a long time. I think that, going forward, having input and having the community have direct input into where the direction of this game and what's happening, form a community of people who are going to listen, is going to be the best thing going forward for X-Wing. I'm so excited for this new era.
Yeah, I
yeah.
definitely.
I'm cautious about it. I have definitely have some thoughts on community led X-Wing as being a huge part of it so far, and like being the communications person that like puts out all the letterheads and all the streams and everything is
Mhm.
podcast appearances. It's literally me. I definitely have my own honest thoughts about it that we can get into. But just to touch on one thing before we kind of start talking about the beta points and all that stuff, Matt, you had mentioned, obviously the response to criticism and the different types of criticism that we saw. Bottom line is, it didn't work out. We're here, and I think some people are facing the music when it came to how they treated people on either side of the aisle when it came to the change of the game. We all kind of have to either choose to come together. This is the best shot we got, or nothing. And
Yeah,
I think that's a compelling situation for a lot of people to keep playing. Otherwise, if it's time to go, time to leave the game, I respect that. But
Yeah.
yeah.
otherwise, this is what we got.
Yeah, it somewhat counterintuitively, I think AMG completing the game, as we call it, has been one of the better things for the game, because we can put a lot of stuff behind us. We can put,
100%.
I don't know, I don't think it has to be about pro AMG or anti AMG anymore. It's just like, hey, this is 2.5, let's play it.
Right. I
Yep.
mean, exactly. And also, they're a non-factor
Hmm.
that's in the
Yeah.
rearview mirror. Like there's so many ways to play X-Wing now too. The 2.0 legacy is still out there, and then XWA trying something new is always there and available too.
Yeah.
So I still think going forward, this is the best shot to make the version of the game that we as a community have come together and can say this is what we wanted.
Yeah. Despite being part of XWA and joining 2.5 tournaments and stuff like that online, I do play 2.5 2.0 Legacy every Thursday. That's my local. We have more people that'll play Legacy, so that's what I play. I really enjoy that. But
That's awesome.
again, I will play 2.5 and try and make it the best version of it that I can.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's good to have a perspective and a feat in both worlds too.
Yeah.
Especially if you're playing Legacy, then from the old system that the games came from, it's still fresh in your mind. I think that there's still a lot that even 2.5 can learn from the past.
Yeah.
Now, looking ahead, but also quickly make a mention that JJ brought up in our chat here that AMG is definitely still a factor when it comes to GTs, but that we've seen
Yeah.
the turnout for those dwindle,
I,
and
I, I mean, they're for the next year, right? Like, I
Yeah.
mean, them saying the game is closed is the best thing because that means that we have an answer. We don't have to like wait for new points, and that we can do things like the XWA
Yeah.
and have a little more legitimacy behind it.
Could you imagine waiting till Worlds next year and maybe think it like the entire time the community thinking, well, maybe we'll get points by Adepticon next year.
Yes, that would have been awful.
It wouldn't have surprised me. I don't know which one's worse, to announce it right before all your events and hope people turn out for them, or to do it to
Well,
not
I
do
mean,
anything for the game and draw it out for a year without
that
any
that
news.
was my biggest fear, was that they were going to do that, that they were going to sit on the IP until something in their business had shook out where they were going to sell or not, and that they would just sit on it, pretend that it was active to drive
Yeah.
up value, and then just kind of slowly let it suffocate.
And they did do that with Armada. They did do
Well,
that
I
with
mean,
Armada.
but they let Armada go too in that same report.
Yeah, but it just Armada was an extra year, I think, of just
Right.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and it wasn't great for that game. Yeah. So no, I
Yeah.
mean, but I'm excited that we can do things like release new points and talk about them here.
Yeah. And in regards to GTs, anyone that can go should go, because it's
Yeah.
important to maintain a good relationship with event hosts and TOs that we need to make sure we show people that X-Wing isn't completely dead, because not everyone has the same optics and same purview of the situation with the XWA as we do. Some event
That is true.
TOs don't know what's going on.
I know that Dion has a connection to the Adepticon folks and has a good relationship with them, and I know that Adepticon would probably still always have a place with us for us. But like you said, being able to show that there's attendance, and I really hope, currently we have the lull where a lot of the GTs are hitting from like 30 to 40. I hope that, I don't want to say spike, if it doesn't increase in between now and Worlds, once Worlds is done and XWA becomes the full stewards of X-Wing, that we see the numbers go up so we can secure those events at Nova, at Golden State Games, at LSO, all those places.
Yeah, for sure.
So moving on, and I love the way you said leaving the rear view mirror, Andrew, because I do think that it is important that we do kind of just leave the salt and the AMG-ness in the rear view mirror, because just besides having an honest conversation about it, which is important for us in the podcast to have,
Sure.
people still it's going to take a while for them to let go of the salt. Just got to put it in the rear view, move ahead, because a lot of exciting stuff has happened the last few days. On Sunday, September 1st, the day before Memorial Day, the X-Wing Alliance released its beta points to the community. The builders were updated, and a lot of changes were made.
It's one of my favorite times in X-Wing, the time where you get to see new points and punch
New
out
points.
ships you've never played before out of cardboard, dust off those upgrades that you never attached to stuff. Awesome.
It's like a new game. It really does
every
feel like
time.
X-Wing is a new game. Yeah, every time the points change.
Spending all day building, theory crafting new lists, getting some new lifeblood in the Discord servers, talking about builds or what. They're like, oh no, this is busted or this got nerfed. It's great.
Yeah. So, what are your guys' initial thoughts, Matt? I'll start with you.
Yeah.
Your initial thoughts on the beta points so far this early on.
I mean, I'm excited. I'm list building. That's like that first day. It's like I built like 12 lists, and I was like, well, I can't build anymore right now. I need to actually process, because the power level has dropped. We'll say like 10% at least. I don't know. So it's like I need to build these lists. I need to play them to see where the power level's at. Period. To see what's what works. What I'm excited for right now is just there's so much in Scum. It has a lot of my heart. So they had the most ships that were not in use. Got Guri and the Star Viper. Definitely has a special place in my heart. But then also the Shadowcaster, the Quad Jumper, just so many extended ships, even outside of Scum. Getting the E-Wing, getting the TIE Phantom, the Lambda. The Lambda somehow hadn't been in. and just getting all those back in are very exciting.
What about you, Andrew? What were your first impressions?
Yeah. So my first impressions, we got to play a little bit on stream this weekend too. So I got to actually do a lot of list building. I've been just list building constantly, but then get some stuff out on the table, which was fun. I felt so good just getting my like I love flying the Lambda, getting my favorite chips out there again, and then I really enjoyed Empire and First Order, and then seeing what were some of the bigger meta build at the end of last season, seeing what those would look like in First Order now. So seeing the power level for some of the old pieces that were very powerful was very interesting, and unlocking like some new builds there. So I think that this is a meta that there's a lot of new things to be explored, and one, I'm very happy to see the power levels drop a bit, and it's going to really open up some of the archetypes that we haven't seen as much of, I think, come back into play. Like, we're going to maybe have more ace play, and possibly with separatists, some swarms coming back,
I definitely see that happening.
which is good. I mean, I think we're getting back towards more of the classic archetypes that we saw at the end of 2.0.
Yeah, I agree. I think one key point that people are making, whether you're in favor or against, is that the dynamic of standard loadout cards in lists has changed drastically.
Hmm.
The power level of the most popular, commonly used SLs was really strong, very self-sufficient.
Yeah.
The access to passive or double mods was a huge factor in why people brought them
Yeah.
in their lists. They were good, right? And a lot of them got nerfed, and people I think got used to or enjoyed playing specific pilots. Let's just say Jendon is an example. This is a good example actually to use because Jendon at 7 points was really good. Now that he's
Mhm.
8 points, just because he goes up a point doesn't mean he's not good anymore, that he's not playable. He's just one more point because of the power level that he possesses.
Right.
So Matt, you bring him up as a great example of you're like, I still build with Jendon. That's what you
Yeah.
told me the other day.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I definitely
but
will still be building with him. I just
Yeah.
you just might have to find a point somewhere, which I think is actually kind of easier right now because there's some good 4 pointers, and the other other Empire example is Tomax. There's no reason he should have been 3 points.
No.
Fits at 4, and I think he's still incredibly good at 4. You get a double mod plasma, just some other fun stuff in there, and
100%.
he's good at 4.
yeah,
This weekend, I played with the standard loadout Soontir in my list, even though the build your own is 4 points. Standard loadout Soontir is also still cracked in half.
Yeah.
But I can't take him and Vader like in a
Yeah.
list. So it does force like that you can I mean, what I'm liking, what I've seen so far is that you can still have your toys, you just can't have all of them.
Yeah.
making X-wing about the strategic aspect of if the ship count average just drops down a little bit, maybe by half a ship, you see more 4 ship lists. It means the objective play compared to the strategy of your dial choices
Mhm.
is emphasized more. The balance of objectives, the weight of it might be a little different. Like those are
Yeah.
really interesting things I'm going to be keeping an eye on as we move forward.
I'm excited that not everybody has access to proton rockets. I mean, the great part about lowering the initial
Torpedoes, yeah,
the
proton
torpedoes. I
torpedoes.
mean, sorry, yeah, proton torpedoes. Lowering the initial offensive output has made it so where like we can start taking like I 2 and 3 ships again,
Yeah. I,
which was
I
a big thing that was missing.
yeah, I'm really hoping to see those I1 through I4 was, like the edge. That was as
Hmm.
far low as you could go, and I feel like if you could see more of those I1 through I3s in there a whole lot more, I think is healthier
Yeah.
for the game, but also
Yeah.
opens up, it's just going to be more fun that way, I think.
I agree with what Ali had said on the initial points announcement list is that you can't have really good ace lists without I1s and I2s
Yeah.
being in the meta.
Yeah, you can't ace when everybody's a 5 and a 6.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And playing a lot of Empire to Matt's ire.
You are a dyed in the wool rebel player. You do not get to play Empire.
I've had the most success with Empire.
Uh,
I will be playing more Rebels. So, guys, pilot wise, what are some pilots that you are like eager to try? If you could name a few, I don't know, 2 to 4.
I've been flying the IGs, and they've just been tons of fun. Like, basically, I've been running 2 IGs and finding out what else I want to fly in the list. I don't know what the rest is, but the IGs are staying in. They're just, I guess I should specify since Separatist has IGs now, but the Scum IGs in the Aggressor,
Yeah.
just tons of fun. And I look
6
forward to the
points each, right? That
Shadowcaster
you're
as well.
playing.
What's that?
They're both 6 points that you're playing, or
Yeah,
is one 7?
all 4 are 6 points.
I really want to fly the Mandalorian in the Mandalorian
Razor Crest, yeah.
in the Razor Crest, Anakin Skywalker and the Naboo Starfighter looks really fun. And I mean, I want to try Soon Tyrfell at 4 points too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you and I, Andrew, we both played different Soon tiers on
Yeah.
our super successful, by the way, everyone that watched that stream, huge success, our in-person stream to debut the XWA points. We were the first stream to stream the points in person. It was a great time. You played the SL
Mhm.
Soon tier, which is he's just very, very, very strong. And then
Still
I
great.
got 4 point Soon tier, a 4-ship Imperial Aces list. And Soon tier did some work. He flanked and got himself in a position where he wasn't in a lot of danger, did some damage. He helped take out Wedge, and
Yeah. It's still
it was
Soon Tier.
fun.
Yeah.
Still Soon tier. He has the point for targeting computer, which I mean that's the only thing is bringing a 4-point ship. Obviously, there's a lot of risk, but if you lose him, not the end of the world. But if you're always rolling blanks, you can never do anything with him. Him being able to take targeting computer, I think, is pretty fair.
Yeah.
So
That
I
1
like
point.
that we have
For sure.
access to that 1 point, which I'm taking credit for. I was the one that asked for it, and they said okay. So woo, yeah, let's go. It's the only thing that I contributed to the points team.
Hey, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
It's no, I mean, I thought, I know that I had that Soontir there's a nice spot in Ollie's heart for Soontir, so I thought
Yeah.
I'd get through to him if I asked. Yeah, so I'm afraid to say anything Imperial because Matt is here. So I will.
Hey, you know, the dark side leads to
The dark side is a
many.
pathway to many abilities.
Yeah, it's a
I'm
pathway to
considered
many
to be
abilities.
unnatural.
So now that you've tasted it, yeah.
I want to try towards the end of 2.0 in the 2.25 era where we were using new rules before it was official. I was playing a 3 A-wing list with Luke. They all had prockets and Luke had proton
I
torpedoes.
remember that
And
list.
I just remember the synergy and fun of flying Shara Bay and Jake Farrell together, or Farrell, however you say him, because the synergies of Shara being able to have a double modded procket because of Jake's ability. The fact that Shara is cheaper, I'm excited to play her. Jan Ors is going to be a really interesting addition to people's rebel list. Very scary, being able to roll additional attack dice every round. Just pick a ship if as long as they're in her arc, gain a stress, and boom, there's an extra attack die for you.
Mm-hmm.
For Scum, Boba Fett at 8 is something that I know for 312 points I was experimenting with, and it was cool to see that carry over to XWA. I love playing Boba. When I played a lot of Scum, I played a lot of Boba. Guri being a lot cheaper at 5 points. Those to name a few are the ones that I'm really excited to try.
I mean, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be fun seeing Star Vipers again. It's gonna be fun seeing fire sprays on the table.
It's funny to hear you say that because people used to hate them so much, but besides Django and maybe Zam, like rarely Django Zam, like you didn't see fire sprays really anymore.
I used to just hate them in 2.0.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think there was a lot of pricing issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But-
Well, points fortressing in 2.0 is a huge thing, and with fire sprays, 100,
Yeah.
118 point Django or in Boba, those were things that existed. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
So what kind of discourse are you guys seeing? Because I'm the PR lead for the X-Wing Alliance, so my brain is I more than I care to admit it all over the internet when it comes to the conversation about X-Wing and about these points. What are you guys noticing being a fly on the wall, being a part of the conversation in different discords in your own communities about these points so far? And definitely be honest. I think it's important to have an honest and open discourse about this.
I mainly see things fall into 3 camps. The first and largest is just excitement. People are happy. They're very excited just to have new points. They're excited with what they can build. They're excited that the power level isn't just all super hyper alpha strike. And that's the largest one. That's, I would say, greater than 75% is what I see. And then probably the next biggest one are people that Nick you were talking about, where they're just like, oh, my standard loadout Brina, Braylon and Gina. It's
Yep.
like, oh, I can't
Yep.
take them anymore. It's like, you probably can. They're expensive, but if the entire power level is pulled down 10%, their minor cost will increase, makes them still powerful because
Yeah.
everything else has been brought down with it. So I'm curious if people just 100% abandon. But yeah, it's a lot of, oh, I can't bring my one pilot, my Han with Perko and Bistan, and decrying it before they've tried anything. And
Yeah.
which what I like is a lot of the responses to them that I see is, hey, play the game, just don't just theory craft, get out on the board, try it, see if it is still viable, see if you can find something that you do like. So I heard something said one time, and the cure for negativity is not positivity, it's warmth.
Mm.
So just being positive towards somebody that's having a negative experience is not what's going to make them not be negative. It's the warmth of just like, hey, be the friend there, so to speak, as best you can over the internet. It's like, hey, let's play a game. Let's, try it out, see if you like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's important not to repeat the same mistakes that specific people made
Yes.
a couple years ago, saying if you don't like it, leave.
Yeah.
We are not. That is not the playbook. That was messed up that they did that, and we are going to not. We don't believe in revenge. We're just going to
Yeah.
be like, hey, let's try this.
Yeah.
That is an important response, to be kind, or if you're frustrated, to just not engage.
Yeah.
If you're tempted to tell someone to screw off, don't. Just take a
Yeah.
step away.
Well,
It's a bad look to be
Yeah.
saying stuff like that.
yeah. And
And
also, I mean, like, yeah, you just acknowledge that, yeah, like some people have lost an aspect that they enjoy of the game, but showing them that there's something new to look forward to as well.
well, and another response to that is, hey, yeah, maybe this is bad. This is beta points. And that's another thing that's I've been seen plenty of people throw out is like, hey, this is beta points, we're
Yeah.
testing. This is
Right.
Yeah.
I'm fairly certain within the next week the playtest form will be there. You can try it, and if you're like,
Yep.
hey, this has been ruined, it actually isn't good, throw it in there.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and then that can be
It,
addressed. Was that?
the sorry. Not just, I think an interesting point to bring up with this is that in 2022, Adepticon, that was an open beta of points, like the way it was treated by Atomic Mass Games. They're like, we changed the game, we want the data. Like they
Yeah.
asked people to fill out information on their games like that.
Yeah.
We've done that before. And I think most people will agree with me. This is my take for the day. That version of X-Wing was hand over fist worse than what we have now with the beta points for XWA. That was
Oh yeah.
rough when it opened up.
Oh,
There
when
was
it
a
first
lot.
started? Yeah, exactly.
When it was truly almost felt more like an alpha than a beta, but
Yeah.
that's semantics. But we've done it before. We've learned a lot from that,
Yeah.
and we can do it again with the knowledge that we've gained from that experience
Yeah.
as players,
Yeah.
and testers.
Yeah. I mean, I will say right now, this points feels a lot healthier than, than where we were at the start of 2.5, for sure.
Yeah. I think the community is reacting healthier as well.
Yes,
Um,
1,000%.
But to get
Yeah.
back to my three reactions, the first one was positivity. The second one was the knee jerk, I can't build my list anymore. And then the third is XWA didn't go far enough. Folks that are like me, where I do prefer 2.0, but I'm not pressing XWA to be 2.0. 2.5 is
Yeah.
2.5. I'm not trying to make it 2.0. And just folks, you're like, and maybe 200 points is a thing somewhere down the line. Judging by the stage that Ali had with you, Nick, last week, it doesn't sound like it's leading that way. 200 points, but maybe, I mean, there's still a lot of testing in between now and March, April next year. But
If
a
I were
lot
a
of
betting
people.
man, I would think it will change.
Yeah.
Honestly,
My hope is for 40 points. I'm a
Mhm.
40-point stan. But who knows? It's
Yeah.
I'm not on the points testing team, on the play testing team. So I think a lot of those comments are more of just like, I don't care for 2.5. You need to make it more 2.0, which, you know,
Mm.
I understand the sentiment because, like I said, I prefer 2.0, but make 2.5 the best 2.5 that you can.
And
But yeah,
also, I mean, Legacy does exist and is
hmm
really well supported. Their points updates have been great too. So that's there.
yeah, it's available to play, and I do.
I'm trying to find a YouTube comment I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm just gonna reiterate everything that Matt said is what I've been seeing too. Overwhelming excitement for most people. I'd say probably like 75% of the posts that I see where are people who are genuinely excited and talking about like list building and are thrilled with like kind of the direction that it's going. And then, there's uh 20% that I are like upset that they can't play their archetype that they liked, or their list doesn't work as well anymore. But even some of those people are even though they're bummed they can't do their like play their thing, that um they're still excited for other things. And I'd say that group also might include people who they say that they don't dislike the direction it's going, but they just have concerns with this uh, group of points that have come out. And then maybe there's like 5% that I'm seeing that they're like, oh, they should just have scrapped the point building design completely, or that they didn't go far enough on either nerfing or buffing certain ships and pilots.
Yeah,
Yeah, I actually can't find the comment anymore. I think the poster removed it, but basically they're like, I'm gonna be honest. The sentiment of the message, the comment was essentially, I'm gonna be honest. I'm not really, I'm confused as to why you did this and why you didn't do this, and I'm gonna give it a shot. And I appreciate everything you guys are doing with the X-Wing Alliance, but if I don't get to play if I don't get to play the way I like to play with my favorite pilots, I'm probably just going to quit. And that was the basically the post. It was pretty long, and I was like, hey, this is a beta points. I don't think it's necessarily fair to threaten to quit just based on reading the points document. I would suggest that you give it a shot still playing your favorite pilots and be patient, because changes will be made that are in the best interest of balancing the game. But essentially, the people who have the ultimatum approach, where they're like, man, if they don't give me Bistan back on Han, I'm quitting.
yeah,
Stuff like that. And I find that to be the worst faith type of I don't even know if you call it criticism, conversation, talking
Yeah,
point, whatever you want to call it. It's just so rooted in heavy bias. It's a non-starter
for
to
sure.
approach a conversation with that.
you're not having a conversation.
Right. Yeah, and luckily that's been pretty rare.
Well, you don't see what I see, but
Oh, all right.
there's more people than you would think
Okay,
being the PR lead.
for sure.
But it's not a problem. It's not like I'm like, man, this is. But there are. I mean, Matt, you see it in the NCX Discord, for example. There are a few people who are talking that way. There are a couple people here, a couple people there. Total, it's a couple dozen maybe that I see the
Yeah,
most talking the most. But it's there. The people they're so set in their way of playing. And my opinion is, if you only can enjoy a game or have success in a game by playing the same exact thing every single time, you need to learn to adapt, because it's you're going to be disappointed if you are not
yeah,
willing to let something that has too high a power level get balanced. To
yeah,
let that go and try something else. Like, you will enjoy the game more if you're willing to adapt, because I think that's a cool challenge playing a competitive game like X-Wing. Is like, okay, I can't play this anymore. What do I do instead? Or how can I make this still good? Like,
yeah,
that challenge, it's like challenge accepted. I'm going to build a
yeah,
list that still performs with the things I like to do, my
yeah,
type of play style,
yeah.
you know?
Well, yeah, or like for all the people who are saying that, oh, it's going to be too busted if you can take three defenders and a TIE fighter. I'm like, great, if you think it's that busted, then you should build that list and play it. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and
show the world how busted it is.
yeah, and just to throw it out there, you could fly three defenders in the AMG points.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
true.
I
Yep.
flew a 2.5 tournament. It was like 2 weeks ago. I flew Jendon, Yor, and Colonel Vessery, and I won the tournament. So it's it's doable.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was,
I was gonna say. I mean, but they weren't I1s
yeah, it
like
was
these
like,
are. Yeah.
and now these are just I1s, and you'll get a what an I1
You
or
get a
an
cannon.
I2 TIE fighter.
Yeah.
So it's they you can fly them, but the power level is much lower than it is in the AMG one. So they're not. I don't think they're worrisome. There's
Yeah.
some worries that I have, but again, it's beta points.
Yeah.
I mean, exactly.
What's one worry that you have, Matt? I've seen a 5 whisper list or a 5 phantom list rather get thrown out there. Is that
Heck
one of
yeah.
them?
I'm not worried about a 5 Phantom list. The big problem with Phantoms was Juke. And if you
Yeah.
take 5 Phantoms, you can't take Juke
Yep.
because those are the ones that don't have a talent slot. But I do worry about there are some super cheap pieces in CIS. The Bactoid prototype, they're 5 health for 2 points. I played again. This is sample size of 1, so it is a minor concern at this point. But we played salvage. The 2 Bactoids, they picked up objectives and then they just flew away. And they're 5 health, and all they got to do is soak up 2 turns, and they've earned their points. And then I it didn't feel worth it to shoot at them because you'd only get 2 points, but you have to kind of shoot at them because they're holding objectives. So that but it's just minor stuff. I think that might be, an edge case there, and maybe they're not going to be annoying. I don't know. But that's one worry. And then I had another concern. I don't have it off the top of my head, but yeah, that's the one that sticks out in my brain. But it could be, again, could just be a one-off scenario. Maybe they
Yeah.
stink in every other scenario that you play them in. It's just salvage that they're good.
Yeah.
Does anybody else see any other concerns?
Andrew, what have you noticed? Anything that you might be concerned with?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I haven't found anything that I mean, there's some things that I don't know if I'm concerned, but it's interesting. I think bringing like intimidation back, but having like a bunch of caveats with it is interesting. Like that could be something that like has a potential to be that could be pretty crazy. I guess the only like concern, yeah, I got nothing off the top of my head that I've even seen or play tested that has been like in my very limited 5 days with these new points that
Yeah,
like that that's really jumping out at me.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
think stealth, so I really think it's interesting with stealth device being a medium to large base only. I think the biggest winner of that is the Mandalorian. The
Oh,
potential for him to
for
mitigate
sure.
damage,
yeah. I
and
But
just be impossible to kill for like 3 or 4 engagements is
I
there, unless you're Matt Cary and you blank out the first engage
yeah,
and
that
you
was
lose your stealth
the,
device.
there was a 2 die shot that came at the Mandalorian, and I rolled 4 dice and rolled 3 blanks and an eyeball, and I wasn't in 2
incredible.
arcs at that moment, so
Yep.
I lost my self device.
Oh my gosh.
But again,
Incredible.
that could be an edge case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the norm. Who knows?
I mean, I'll
I
say
mean,
that's
it's
one of the
7
reasons.
points.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
I was gonna say no. That was one of the reasons. Like one of the reasons why I wanted to fly the Mandalorian is that it honestly it got the bump that I thought it deserved. I thought it was interesting that when they released the Razor Crest, that the Mandalorian was like one of the weakest
Yeah,
pilots in the set.
Yeah.
And it's like, cool, we got this awesome TV show, so let's make this guy terrible.
It's
um,
like Q9 the better
yeah.
option.
So like I feel like this is the treatment that the Mandalorian should have got. Like I think yeah, for like that's one of the ships
Yeah.
that has gotten a massive boost in this new points update.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but he also got quote unquote nerfed, right? So it's like that's why there's no when something goes up, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a total nerf. It means it's like there's an adjustment. It's really just an
Yeah. Oh,
adjustment,
for sure.
especially when it
yeah,
comes to what he can take, the tools. I still think it's really difficult to have a lot of success with the platform of the Razor Crest because of its style. But
yeah,
I love that he has more survivability.
Hmm.
If you're gonna take a chip like that has the worst blue maneuvers of medium base. I mean,
yeah,
I think you should be able to try to keep him
yeah.
alive, and it feels thematic, like you said, Andrew. It's ironic how when he first came out, he was 7 points with like just like a weird amount of loadout. It was like
Yeah,
not
he
a
had
lot of
less than
loadout
It
either.
was
Q9 and
like 5. Yeah,
yeah,
he could barely take the child,
yeah.
and I think in
Uh,
the points update then he couldn't anymore.
yeah. I'm not worried about these things, but I am curious how things like Informant, Sense, Talmeric,
Yeah, yeah.
um, and then also so that's all the peak, all the peaking stuff. I don't think that's going to be a problem, but I am really open to being wrong. I don't think that
Yeah.
X-Wing's a little more jousty than it was in 2.0, so you kind of know where people are going. They're coming there to bash your face in and pick up some objectives. So, uh,
Blocks don't restrict people's actions anymore. And
yeah,
there's yeah, it definitely was abused. I mean, as much as
yeah,
it could be in 2.0, but now
yeah,
that things have shifted, the target or win conditions have changed.
yeah,
I don't expect it to be a big deal, but it can probably
and
still turn a game.
yeah, and then same thing with dial changing. I don't think that they're going to be big. I think the worst offender could be Seasoned Navigator on Fire Sprays, but I don't think that it again. I don't think it's going to be as impactful as some people worry. But again, very open to being wrong. I'm looking forward to parsing through the playtest logs once people start shoving them our way.
Yeah, speaking of, I am working with the playtest lead, Daniel Lim, aka Isofane. He was just elected almost a week ago.
Yeah,
And he brought Matt on, and I know Dom Flanagan was brought
Flanagan.
on, and I think a few others as well. I'm not sure. That's still kind of being rounded out, but there will be a form. We will make an announcement
Yeah,
about your playtest feedback and submissions. The main caveat that I kind of want to tease now is that we're not looking to suggest fixes. We're looking to address problems
Hmm.
yeah,
and how we can solve them. So the best way to do that is to just give us your feedback on how games are going, what you're noticing, without being like, this is too good, this is too bad, this is broken, this you need to make Luke 4 points or
yeah,
whatever, whatever it is.
yeah. And
We're not
to
gonna,
my
that's not helpful for us.
to my understanding, that's how FFG and AMG's feedback forms were. It was, hey, does this feel like the game was too swingy? Does it over favor one person? It's not, hey, do this to fix this. It's just say, is it a problem? And how is it a problem? Or is this good? How is it good? Just that kind of feedback. And and just trust the dev teams, which I mean, you have two world champions. You got Ali and Paul Heaver. I feel like with the kind of brain power you have there, they have the best interest of every chassis and pilot and upgrade in mind. They want it to be viable, and they will make the changes to make it viable without making it oppressive.
What are your guys' thoughts on, going back to points really quick? The philosophy initially with what AMG adopted, which was making titles free for the ships that had access to the title, it was free, versus now in XWA beta points land, them having a cost.
Fantastic. I think the ones that are costed are on the money. I think it's a lever that you can pull to control the power level for sure. Same thing. The only other one I can think of too is like the having the slave one title be extremely expensive, especially if you're going to lower Boba Fett to 8.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
The
Soulless one, for example, General Grievous is I think 9 points. He has like
mm,
11 or 12 loadout for 4 points instead of 5. And I mean, obviously, not all titles are created. There's the Phantom title, which allows you to dock, and then there's Soulless one that gives you reroll and 2 extra
yeah,
hull, and them
Hmm.
yeah,
both being the same price at 0. I was always like, huh, that's weird, but
yeah,
okay.
It's making interesting decisions, and I liked it for the Lambda having the title be 3 points. Like with Jed, and I had to choose between, do I take the title or do I take maybe a crew member that can give me
yeah.
something better? And you can now build like those ships or Lambda in different styles and configurations for what your game plan is going to be.
Yeah. And you don't feel so hypothetical taking two lambdas. You feel like in AMG points, you feel like they assumed that the title would be on the lambda.
Hmm.
So the points are figured with that in mind. But if you're taking two, well, then you have two ships that are working with that assumption, and only one of them actually gets the title.
Mhm.
In this version, it's not every title as we've discussed, but at least for that one, that is built in with the consideration. So who's it? Lieutenant Sai is 4 points, I think, is a steal, but
Mhm.
all they have is enough points to take the title or a cheap crew, basically. So
Yep.
that's your choices. Whereas the other ones get more points, but they get the title and stuff.
Yeah.
So, and if you take two for some reason, uh, you could make the decision.
Look, some people
I
really love lambdas.
Yeah.
we fell into this world where you just stapled things into your list because it was
Yes.
like there was no thought behind it. You just got to. And it's just
Yeah.
philosophically, I can understand the principle of doing it, like but I just it was a drawback to
Yeah.
list building to just be like it. Hey, you have this loadout, you have this you have this title that is essentially an upgrade that lets you do more things, and in some cases lets you do a lot more things, but it's free. So
Yeah.
don't worry about it. It doesn't count towards your loadout. Just have it on there. And then
Yeah.
you'd have cases where people would like, I mean, this isn't actually a problem, but I just find it funny that sometimes people spawn a list in for a stream game or something and they'll forget to put special forces gunner or I know that's a gunner, but or one of their titles on that's free, but just because it's just like it should basically be defaulted to on there at all times because it's free, but it wouldn't. And it's just like, hey, like you should have to make a choice, like a decision,
Yeah.
and being able to use it,
Yeah.
that it matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean, yeah, I think I understood. Like AMG did that because they were looking at it more thematically, that that ships with titles like Moldy Crow used to cost 13 points in 2.0,
Yeah. Yeah.
where it felt weird if you were flying an iconic pilot that had that title and then you weren't able to take it. Um,
Being able to take it, like having access to being able to buy it, I still think is thematic
sure,
enough. But I see, I
Yeah.
know what you mean. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I know what you
I mean, and it's not like they were 100% on that as well, because like Dirge could take the Xanadu Blood title, even though
Right, yeah.
that wasn't hit. So it's like when they were hitting on it, when they said, well, this is why you can have it because of lore reasons. It's like, okay, that makes sense. But then when they did the caveats and corollaries, where it's like, well, they can have the title. Dirge and CIS can have the title, but Dirge and Scum cannot. And it's like, what
Mhm.
in the world is going on here? So I don't know.
yeah.
But it
Multi Crow is 0, so like Jan gets to
yes.
take it. It looks like,
Yeah.
Yep.
and that's
The
interesting because that's go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say the one thing that I dislike about that, while all of them can take it, I worry because of what I was saying with Psi and the Lambdas. They they're built into the cost, so you're like, oh well, then they can take this. Now I don't feel like you can take two Hawks because they have that. I can't take Kanan and Tapusk, because Tapusk wants the Crow title because of how much he costs, and so does Kanan. And one of them will be severely underpowered for 5 points or whatever the points are. I'm a little fuzzy on that, but it's there are drawbacks to that, and maybe that's something that can be addressed. I don't know, or maybe it's fine how it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I got caught up in list building. I was
Ah.
building a rebel list.
Wow. All right. Yeah. Just distracted already. But yeah, I mean, I think that that's just going to be something that we're all going to smooth out as time goes on.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's I think the way I like to define the official support for the game up to the point when they announced that, we're walking away, is that a lot of interesting design spaces implemented, but half baked and not optimized and explored enough just because of time
Yeah,
and resources.
for
Yeah,
sure.
there's two
And
months.
it's cool to dive deeper into that and try to refine the things that they've inserted, because there is a lot in 2.5 that I think is really interesting. I think
Yes.
loadout, when done the right way, is really unique. But the way it was implemented was kind of half baked, and
Yeah,
they made it better. It was
and
like, it's like you open the door and you take one step out the door. You're not at your destination still, but you've taken a step in that direction. I feel like they
Yeah.
took that big step and then
No,
we're
for
like,
sure.
okay, I'm tired. I'm gonna
yeah,
take a seat.
like
Next
I
thing is
feel
like,
like
all right, I'll keep going.
yeah, I feel like the best ships that could have taken advantage of the loadout system were the things like the Star Wing or the Punisher or the Star Fortress, things that you couldn't make too cheap in 2.0 because they would just be spam.
Yeah.
But in 2.5, they didn't get the loadout that they could have that would have made them viable. And it's
No.
like, but this system would work specifically really well for, we'll say, Major Vendor, who is like, you can make them 5-6 points, but just give them 30 loadout. That's
Hmm.
just a number I'm throwing out, but
I
just
mean, no.
give them the world.
One of the examples is the Decimator. When I flew the Decimator in 2.0, every time you would put it in the list and then you would strip it for parts. You would put absolutely nothing on it, because it was just so expensive, just the chassis itself. And then also you just wanted room for other stuff, in the list because it was good enough to do its thing. But Decimators never really felt like a big, like a big impending ship like they were,
Oh,
where they were dangerous. It was more like, no,
oh.
that's just a damage soak.
You
Um,
haven't played against Matt's Vader
Yeah,
Defender rack
I was
list.
like, I'm sitting
no,
here
no, no,
just like, I'll
no,
be
no, no.
quiet. I'll be quiet.
No, I mean the not the Defender, the VT.
No,
No,
I
no,
know. I'm saying
Decimator.
you haven't played against
Decimator.
Matt's Vader Defender and rack Rear Admiral Cheer
Oh, sure,
Decimator
sure.
list.
Yeah,
Yeah,
There were
so
some
right.
but
cases of like 120 point
But
decimators.
yeah,
I will say, like in 2.5, they when you do have that separate loadout system, it makes these, like, the one thing I thought that they really crushed was that it made Luke feel like Luke. It made like these Decimators feel like really big, powerful ships, where you know because in 2.0, the like that list building, the pilot abilities were so good, you didn't need to put other cool stuff on them. But
yeah, you
now in
put it
2.
on the
When
title. And
exactly. But now when you have loadout and like point separate, that you can make these like really cool ships become even cooler by actually getting to add stuff to them.
And how about generics just being something you can actually look at again that
Generics are
exists as
that's the
options?
first thing I noticed with the new points, was that generics feel relevant again. They figured it out.
Yeah, I always thought, again, we saw what they were trying to do, just like, hey, Star Wars named pilots, named abilities. They were seeing it as like Star Wars is about the characters, it's about the world of
Mhm.
these characters from all these shows and movies, that comics, books, everything that we love from this
Mhm.
universe, and let's focus on the main cast. And in my head, I've always looked at X-Wing as like, well, a squadron has like a squadron lead, but then you have like Green Squadron, veteran or whatever. I'm
yeah,
making up names, but like
Yeah.
you have people who aren't main characters in all of these shows and comics and books and everything, who are important parts of the squad. They just might have a name. I'm it's nice thematically. I always wanted it to be more like that, to have a place for the aces and the name pilots and the
Yeah.
generics.
yeah,
And taking a step in that direction is also good for the game, because turns out a lot of people love generics and X-Wing
yeah.
a lot.
For
I was
sure.
Yeah, I was never a generic flyer. I would at most typically have like one in my list, but there was plenty of people that really enjoyed flying generics, and taking that away from them, I think that was another point where you just lost people on the Switch.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah, I always liked generics, and like the RPG aspect, where this no name pilot would could be somebody in this list, and then you got the feeling of like they were punching above their weight, which was cool. On the other hand, like I was kind of excited. I felt like I'd spent a lot more time in 2.5, like playing new ships that I never would have played before ever. Um, because there's so many named pilots in this game that I've never seen on the table across from me or played myself. Like, I don't think I've ever played against or played with Heftober in the U Wing. Um,
Yeah.
I've never, I barely see Seventh Sister like around anymore. Zertic Strom had their day in the sun
Yeah, at the very
when
start.
2.5 first launched, and then
Oh
was
yeah.
immediately
Three
back
points
on the
or check.
shelf. Yeah.
2 point Night Beast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing like Gavin Sykes in the N1 and Danae Hamburger
Who?
in the N1.
Who?
It's Danae Elberger, but I call her Danae
I
Hamburger.
know it's Gavin Sykes. Like who?
Yeah, but like they're two different N1 pilots that you just don't see.
Yeah.
because they were I think they're both I3, and you couldn't survive in the meta at I3 for the most part. There's probably exceptions, but
Let's get
most.
Koshka Frost out on the field,
Yeah, is she
Koshka
the
needs to be a big 2.0
yeah.
Yeah, the fire spirit.
feature.
Yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
there's a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
a lot. It just feels like a new game, and seeing the amount of people that have joined all of the discords who have joined ours. We have, like, I was just looking a moment ago, we have like 500 or so people in our discord, and gosh, 6 months ago I think we had like maybe 250, almost 300.
Wow.
And a part of that obviously is because we did 312 points, but the activity, the people looking for games, just conversing. Our Discord was never known as being the place to go to be a part of the X-Wing conversation. Like, we had a decent Discord, we have a decent Discord, but it was relatively quiet. And now it's just to see life in all parts of it's awesome. And this is just good for all of
Yeah.
us.
Well, I mean, honestly, we were all just starved for just new content for so long. Like, this is just honestly, I think what it is that this is the first time that people have hope, and that the first time that people have just seen something happen. And it's exciting.
Anything else before we kind of move into the last topic of the cast?
Have a big
Yeah.
one.
I guess I do have one thing. Some of the discourse I'm seeing is that, why are we sticking some people are bummed that we're sticking with like the 20-point system, and the ship values and the loadout values being like the same. My personal feeling is that I think that was a good move. There's so many new players that did come in on 2.5. This is the only point system they know, and I think instead of trying to blow everything up from the beginning, that like working within the framework, figuring out what works, what doesn't, before moving on to something next, if they decide that that's like worth it, is, I think that that's the right approach. And it's so nice to have like stewards of this game, I think, make some thoughtful, good decisions
It's
for once.
it's at least a short-term approach. I mean, we're not gonna blow anything up
Exactly.
for now, but one thing that I can definitely promise, two things actually, is that SLs are not going anywhere. If anything, we're gonna make more of them, so they will be a part of the game for
Ooh,
sure.
okay.
Two,
That's big.
the other thing is that we will not be abandoning scenarios in any way. So 2.5, if you want to define it as, scenario play X-Wing with list building that um utilizes a 20, 40 list building structure, or 100, whatever we decide to go with, we will stay with that long term. That is
Awesome.
what we
Yeah.
will do. I don't know what the points. I would be surprised if we stayed at 20 points. That's my personal opinion. I don't have, like, I'm not leaking anything when I say that. We haven't really dove deep enough into that conversation. But if we want to see more pilots get priced more fairly to allow more of them to get played, it will not be with 20 points. It would have
Yeah.
to be with a different
Yeah.
structure.
Yeah.
I
You just
I def-
have more minutia.
yeah, I
Yeah.
definitely see, where there, I feel like there's a lot more viable pilots, but there's still a lot of them where it's like Nick, you mentioned who's it, Backstabber and Mauler Mythal from
Yeah.
Battle of Endor.
The
It's
boys. Yeah,
Yeah,
they
it's
got
like
a little nerf too. Yeah.
both at 4 points is too much, but lower one of them feels weird because they're kind of the same. But if you lower
Yeah.
both of
Yeah.
them, they're because like one of them definitely isn't worth 4 points. They
Yep.
are only good as a pair at 7 points. So if you could somehow slice that down the center and make it 3.5 points,
Yep. And
then
they're
that fits
still
more.
Well, I
they're
mean,
still
and
not that good
there's
without Vader either, because like they kind
yeah.
of need Vader for the extra
Yeah,
insurance. If one of them dies, they don't even get the extra attack die.
yeah,
So,
I will say, for me, take a look at it like Republic and Scum are just the two factions that are just inherently hard to balance on their own, because it's like 20 points is maybe so low where like 1 point lower in one direction can be the difference between making something, OP and unplayable. So I think adding maybe a little more minutia there in the future might also help.
well,
I'm also excited that I mean, I love the scenarios. I'm excited for the prospect of new scenarios too coming in. And
our scenario die is at a good run.
yeah.
It's at a good
And
run. The
well, I mean,
312
I think
scenario
that I
die.
don't think the four that we have now are going to go away. I think you just add some new
Yeah.
some new stuff to it.
Well,
But
we'll see. There's probably going to be a rotation. I think we won't get rid of anything, but there might
yeah,
be a rotation. Like
I was
we'll
I was
we'll
gonna say
see.
at the end of the day, honestly, I'm just I'm filled with hope, and I'm it's gonna be awesome to see like the direction that X-wing will take now.
Yeah, and so that's a good segue. So the XWA's main its mission statement, its big goal is to host the largest X-wing event by 2030, which is not several years from now. Do you think this is possible with a community led effort? And what do you think some of the pitfalls would be that would kind of interfere with accomplishing a goal like that?
I think the biggest thing is like Worlds 2019 was huge. It was I want to say 600 plus people, and then I know there were some UK events that were 600 plus people. So just saying that the bar is high to start, but
It is.
Yeah,
I think that's the first hurdle. But I think it's possible. I think it's more possible now than it was under AMG. Aside from Worlds, the large tournaments were trending downward. I hope that once XWA points tournaments start happening, that starts trending back upward. And you got 6 years. 2030 is 6 years away.
Yeah. What do you think? What do you think? What would be something that would cause that not to happen? What would get in the way of a community led effort to keep the game alive by 2030? Matt, what would
I'm
you think would be a big obstacle? Both you guys, but obviously,
If Kouba, if you got something, go ahead.
Oh no, I mean, yeah, I was just gonna say. I mean, for me, the one thing that stands out is in the future lack of availability of product. That would could prevent new players from getting it. And I think that you will need some injection of new
3D
players to
printers
reach
unite.
that. Yeah, I get that. Yeah, I mean, but we're not suggesting or saying that people go out and do that. But from a tournament perspective, it might not be okay to do that.
Yeah, I
Oh
think
well, XWA will certainly allow once AMG is done. That is the only way to
Sure.
sustain a growing game is to allow
Yeah,
them
but
to
like
proxy and
Adepticon might not, like
yeah.
well,
Well,
we would be the TOs. We would
yeah. At
decide
that
if it's
point,
allowed
yeah,
or not.
yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So
yeah.
yeah, it would be fine.
Yeah, at that point, the XWA or whoever, just the community in general will just have to be like, hey, here's the best people to get the little cardboard tokens from. Here's the best people to get dials from. Here's the best people to get uh,
Yeah,
mold, like an STL, or have somebody print it for you,
yeah,
um, and just do that. And then so something that's not a hurdle but something that could potentially encourage growth is, should the community release, you know Mando's N1 or something like that, and or the Night Buzzard, just a new ship. Maybe that would do it. I don't know. That I know that's a whole can of worms in itself, but
yeah.
new product, new SLs, new just pilots in general will be helpful for encouraging growth.
Yeah. I would say this is me. So I think that goal is very ambitious.
Yes.
Oh, for sure.
I don't believe it will be I think the goal really to show the success of this effort is to host a X-wing event that features people from all around the world, that has several hundred people, two, three, 400 people, the largest ever when the game doesn't have product anymore that's easily available, and that's just a natural barrier that we will not be able to remove.
Yeah. Yeah, if you could get the largest worlds, like current largest worlds was 2019, 415 people, I think. So that was 2.0. 2024 last, or this year rather, last worlds was 311 people. So I think it's possible. And I guess another hurdle you were asking about is having folks direct new players to XWA, because I know one of the
Right.
problems with new product during the 2.5 days under AMG was until those starter kits came out. All of the stuff still said second edition. Like if you bought and two ties and an X-wing kit, it still was the 2.0 rules. So you're having some mixed signals, cross wires.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say. Oh, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, I was gonna say. I mean, luckily though, I think that even AMG pointed people towards Yasby, but
Yeah.
they're not going to still
I
know
don't
what
think.
XWA is.
Yeah, I don't think they did that, but
No.
I don't know. It's legal Lucasfilm Limited hurdles
Oh,
if they do
yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like that. Yeah, but I would say one of the biggest pitfalls of this effort, what one of them would be the political side of the organizing effort and the leadership of the X-Wing Alliance, and people just setting their ego aside and working together and getting along. I think that's ultimately going to be what makes or breaks the X-Wing Alliance, and it's long-term credibility of kind of being the steward. Which right now we're doing everything we can to earn the respect and the trust of the community, but we have to earn it because we are new, and it's a brand. It's just something that people haven't experienced with X-Wing before, but. I think we're doing a really good job of making that progress, and I just want to make sure. I think we just have to kind of stay the course, and if we do that, if we make sure that we don't have one person run away with the game, make the version of the game they want it to be, and we have a group effort with checks and balances that stay in place as we have established them to be, that I think we are
Yeah.
set up for success.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's to pull the curtain back a little bit with the week that I've been in XWA. It's not a monolith behind the scenes. Not everybody, because I saw a couple of criticisms where like they're trying to make it 2.0 again, and it's just like we can't just show everybody behind the what's going on, but it's not a monolith. Not there's discussions that happen. There's people that like certain things about X-wing, people like other certain things about X-wing, and it's a group effort. And I think just know that the XWA has the community in its mind and wants to serve the community as best it can.
No, that's a great way to end. If any of you guys have anything else,
I do not.
I concur.
No, I'm excited to see everybody on the table.
Yes, list building. Let's do it. Send us your lists.
Yes.
Thank you to the XWA and their points team for breathing new life into the world of X-Wing. This is a time to be really excited, to be building new lists, to be getting more games in, and just to keep the community-led effort of X-Wing going. This episode is brought to you by, once again, Strata Strike. You can go to their Etsy page and buy so many amazing gaming components, including X-Wing components like wood carved template trays, templates, tokens, and more. You can use coupon code 312 Squadron. That's 312 capital S lowercase QUADRON for 15% off your entire purchase store wide. Be sure to follow us on Twitch to catch us live. Check us out on YouTube and subscribe if you want the edited replay content. You can watch it there. Like us on Facebook and jump into our Discord server to chat with the XWA folks and ourselves and all of the great players, the X-Wing community. And thank you, finally, to our patrons for making this possible and supporting us in the most generous way that they do. My name is Nick Sperry.
And I'm Andrew Kouba.
I'm Matt Cary.
And thank you for listening.
See y'all later.
Have a good night, guys.